There was a million reasons why opening a restaurant in March of 2021 was one of the dumbest ideas possible. But like, again, I'm like, I want to have multiple restaurants. Like, I have a million reasons not to. I just needed one reason to do it. And that reason was I know what I want out of my life. I've known what I've wanted to do for a long time. You know, I may have made some like, you know, detours along the way, but I've always known like open restaurants.
Dude, we all have the best time ever to start a small business.
If I'm not gonna be 100% in, I'm not gonna do it.
Come on, man, just be yourself.
Yeah,
and just show up as yourself.
If you don't realize what I'm really about, I'm about freedom, family, and my country. Chef Avery, welcome. Cheers, we got our seltzers.
Cheers.
Behaving tonight.
Sober October.
I had to have a cigar though. Welcome to the pit, dude. What do you think about it?
Dude, this is a dope setup, man. I'm reworking my backyard, so I'm gonna get some ideas.
We, the people prior to had it set up really entertainment-wise, which is why we bought the house. We love to entertain. We love to have family and friends over. And when Kelly and I redid it, we said, we need a sandpit area, we need the pavers, we need a little bar, the pool, a garden, and we need a fire pit.
Yeah, dude.
We need a fire pit to hang out with our friends. And when Evan and I connected and we were launching local mentorship, he was like, why don't we talk to your friends who are business owners around the fire? And I was like, all right, we'll drink some bourbon and talk to my friends. And here we are today.
I love it. I love it. It's not in a studio. It's like literally hanging out in your backyard. So
yeah, that's what it's about. That's what I like.
No, it's dope. I'm doing this right now in my backyard. We have my backyard is torn to shit right now. I'm putting a pool in right now.
It's crazy expensive,
patio.
right?
Dude, what I'm paying for my pool right now, if I would have did this 3 years ago, I would have been able to put like a resort in my backyard. Mm-hmm. It's like...
I know, dude. I know.
Up 100%.
You'll love it, and your family, I know you're a family man, you get a lot of use out of it. You guys have a lot of fun. Make a lot of memories.
Create the memories.
So, for the viewers that may watch this, that are your followers, that are your friends, your family, you know, I like to really put it out there what the show was about and why it started. And I was a kid who didn't really do that well in school. I wasn't a guy who was a great reader. I wasn't a guy who had great reading comprehension. I didn't like to sit there in class. I was a go, go, go guy. I still am today.
Did you get on your SATs?
I never took them.
No shit.
Never took them. I got kicked out of high school before that.
Oh,
I got kicked out of high school. So you know, as I came up, I was a chippy guy. It's still at times I probably have that exterior, you know, wherever that is buried in me. I try to shake it, but it sometimes comes back. As I was getting into business, there wasn't many people that were willing to turn around and help me up the ladder. And that really frustrated me, and it also hurt my feelings. So I said, once I have a couple shekels, and once I'm doing well and I've put myself around a sphere of very influential and successful business people, I'm gonna help people. I didn't know what it was, and here we are today giving away this free content. So everything that we've spoke about prior to, you fit the mold of somebody who wants to give back. You've had your ups, your downs. You had some TV time, a little bit of love there.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me, dude. I'm stoked.
Yeah. So I want to chronologically walk through your life a little bit, and then we'll kind of take it from there as a conversation. So grew up in Spring Lake.
Grew up in Spring Lake, like you, was a terrible student, you know, barely made it through high school.
CBA?
Yeah, CBA. I think I graduated. I think my guidance counselor told me I was like 7th from the bottom. Got like a 900 on my SATs. But I always had enthusiasm, man. You know what I mean? Can't take that from me.
Why didn't you like school?
I just didn't like to. The whole thought of school to me is just weird. It's all about memorization. Yeah. There's really very free thinking going on. You know, it's all about getting grades to get into another school.
Yeah, they're like
memorize more shit.
Pre-programming.
You know what I mean? Exactly. Like it's like totally like this industrial mindset. So, and I mean, I hated reading. It was the Iliad and the Odyssey. It's not that I hated reading. I thought I hated reading. I believed I hated reading, but I hated the reading I was required to do.
Yeah.
I mean, like
you weren't reading things you were interested in.
Yeah, like the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Yeah,
like,
horrible.
You know, or like the summer reading books, like Around the World in 80, whatever the fucking stupid.
My wife's a teacher. She doesn't even believe in homework.
Yeah, well, good for your wife. Yeah, because it's terrible, you know. And like today, like having a kid in high school, like I'm getting off subject here, but like she goes to school 8 hours a day, has to do 4 or 5 hours of homework every night. It's like, when are kids? So that's why I didn't like school, and I just wasn't good at it. So it definitely chipped away at my self-esteem. But you know, somewhere along the way in high school, I always had this strong desire to be independent, have my own money. So, I would deliver pizzas. I had a DJ business.
Where do you think that comes from, right? Because it's like some people are like, you're born with that. You can learn to be an entrepreneur. You can be an entrepreneur. Where do you think it comes from for you?
I don't know, man. My mother's an entrepreneur. I don't know. It just was like instilled in me. It was never enough for me to just want to work for somebody. It was never like an aspiration of mine to be like, get this job and make this kind of money. It's like, it just was never, I love the creative process, I think. I love seeing something go from just an idea to like this fully functioning entity in and of itself that almost exists without you.
Yeah.
Like you build it and you exit it and you watch it do its thing and you water it and you do whatever you got to do from the peripherals. But I think that's the most attractive thing to me. So, I think early on, I just
wanted to make money.
Yeah, I wanted to make money and I wanted to have independence, and like I think because I didn't really get that like value out of myself from school. I mean, when I tell you terrible, like terrible.
I get it.
Every summer I was in summer school.
I get it.
Every summer I was in summer school.
Yeah, it's and then your parents are disappointed in you.
Yeah, it's just
you kind of feel like a little bit of a loser. All your friends are moving on to go to big schools, or they're in the smart kid classes.
Yeah, like I didn't. Yeah, like my high school girlfriend got into good colleges. I was like but I always had the gift of gab. Like I remember I ended up going to Rollins College in Florida, and I was waitlisted. I was so devastated. I didn't get into any of the colleges I wanted to get into. I was devastated, and my mom's like, you know what? We're going to Florida. So we go down there. I fly down there, and I meet the dean of admissions, and he talks to me, and he's like, you know what? Long story short, he liked me, and he got me in. But I was just, and I think he saw something in me or something. Maybe it was my persona or my attitude, but that's what it was. So I started working, long story short, and creating things and having businesses in high school. And then I went off to college, and once the partying started, like it was.
Now, was Rollins a chef-based school?
No, I was a liberal arts college in Winter Park, Florida, like a suburb of Orlando.
And then you did end up going to school, obviously, to be a chef.
Yep.
Down in Florida, Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, so I went to college for 4 years. Actually, never even got my undergrad. A few classes shy. That's a whole other story. But
shout out to dropouts. We like
that's
dropouts.
That's it, man. I mean, I think I had like a 2.0 GPA, like just enough. Like I was the king of like, what do I have to do to not fail? Like that was my goal. Like don't fail. Just get through, survive another day. But yeah, so after 4 years, being in Orlando, I kind of kept with the whole hospitality thing. Like I valeted cars, I worked at hotels, I was a bartender, bar back.
Downtown Orlando is pretty cool.
It's a great city.
Yeah, people don't realize it's there.
The most underrated city. Everything is like Disney World. It's like that's out
that's away from it. Yeah.
Downtown Orlando is beautiful. I actually, I would have moved. I thought I'd be living there for the rest of my life. But I went to college there, was kind of like putzing around, and then I ended up deciding to go to Fort Lauderdale to go to culinary school, because by this point in time, I'd been like really working in restaurants. Like the whole time I was in college, I had a job for the most part, like the last 3 years.
And as you were working in those restaurants, where you started to think like, I want to own one, I could do this different, I could do that different.
I love the high-paced, fast-paced environment. Every day is new in a restaurant, right? Like there's a new set of problems, new set of people, just, and I just liked it. And I was good at it, for the most part. Like everybody kind of sucks when they're new to anything, but I thrived in that environment. Like I did well.
Engaged your mind.
Yeah, because I'm like a very type A, like running around fast, and in that environment, I can just be me, and it just looks like, oh, he's just doing his job. He's just working really hard, but really I'm just like.
Yeah, you're constantly going. I get it.
So I knew like that was my path. I was like, I want to be an entrepreneur by way of becoming a chef and then opening up, like for some reason in my head, I can remember this, from 22 years ago, like wanting to own multiple restaurants. That's always been the thing. It was never like, I want to be a chef and,
I want to own real estate. I want to do this.
Yeah, or even just being a chef. It wasn't like I want to be a chef and win all these awards and like work 20 hours a day. It was never like what I wanted to do. It was, I want to own restaurants. I want to own multiple restaurants. I want to build a hospitality group. And that's still with me today.
Yeah, and we'll get into that.
Yeah, so I was in Florida for a while, and I ended up, and again, I told you I'm from, Spring Lake, Monmouth County. I ended up meeting my wife down in Fort Lauderdale. She's a few years younger than me, and she's from Colts Neck, again, right up the road. And when she got pregnant, we ended up moving back, and now I'm back in New Jersey. This is like 2004, 2005.
24, you get married, you have a kid.
I just went to culinary school. I was a chef, and this is back when New Jersey had pizzerias, Chinese food restaurants, country clubs, and sports bars. Like that was it. So I'm like, well,
no Italian restaurants?
Yeah, exactly. That's all there was. I was like, where am I going to be a chef. Like, this sucks. Like, you know, it's like, this isn't like, I'm used to like Florida and living like in resort towns and all these things.
Completely different.
This isn't gonna work. So I dabbled in construction. I liked that, but it wasn't, you know, it didn't really grab me enough. Then I got into like the whole personal finance and mortgage thing, and then the subprime market did what it did in 2008. And I started working again back in restaurants. I was working for David Burke from Asbury, and I got back in the restaurant world that way. A few years passed by, I found myself, you know.
You were driving a taxi, right? One day
Yeah,
you said,
yeah.
I'm over this, I'm driving right to
yes,
DC.
well, yeah. So I did a seasonal restaurant with my family. My family had some real estate in Belmar, Lake Como, and I did a burger joint one summer. It was a cafe another summer, and it just wasn't jiving. It wasn't like filling me up. It was hard being in business with family, and I was driving a taxi for, you know.
Make ends meet, you had a family.
I mean, I'm living in a condo, like I have one kid, my wife, I just like wasn't happy. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, just trying to piece things together. And I ended up just one day going down to Atlantic City and going to the Biergarten. I was like, what's the best restaurant? Who's got the best chef? That's who I'm going to go work for. Like picking a good mentor, and like just kind of like at 28, I was 29, like kind of just diving in head first, getting back in the restaurant world, kind of like being open to it, knowing that, you know, I'm gonna be older than some of the guys that are maybe ahead of me or whatever, but I did it, and I just...
Stop one second. Talk about the importance of having a mentor when you're in your 20s.
I mean, I think mentors are the most important thing, you know, and you really have that is the one thing, you know, opportunity and, you know, the class you're born into, you can't pick your parents, you can't pick, you know, a lot of things in life, but you can pick who you want to mentor you. And you can make the decision like, I'm gonna take this job, and it might be inconvenient as hell to get there. I might not make as much money, but I wanna get in front of the right person. And the chef I picked, you know, he was this ambitious chef. He was working at a top tier restaurant, Mina. It was Sea Blue. And the chef I'm talking about is Anthony Amoroso. I mean, to give you an idea of the chef who I went to work for is now, you know, like the VP of food and beverage for MGM Grand Resorts, like worldwide. I mean, like that was the guy I worked under, you know, 12 years ago. And so like having the right mentors is like omnipotent. Like if you get the right mentors, like that is like your success ticket. Because
it shortens your learning curve.
100%.
And the right mentor who understands you slaps you when you need to be slapped. You know, as a young guy, I was coming into the financial office. This dude that got kicked out of high school, and I'm mouthy, right? I'm talking back, and this one dude, Chris, pulled me in the office. Like, listen, dude, you're a talented guy. You got a gift of gab. You retain things quick. You just need to listen a little bit. Don't get in your own way.
Right.
And still to this day, him and I have, I would say, more of a friendship now, where we both continue to lend information to each other and help each other out. But man, that skyrocketed my business at the time, big time.
Yeah.
And personal life.
100%. And the opportunities, and it's not just like, they don't just teach you something new. And like my mentors are my mentors for life. Like to this day, right? Like I own 2 restaurants, and we do millions of dollars in revenue. I have a family, I have all these people, 80 employees. There's days I'm like, I need to call Anthony. What would you do in this situation? And he answers my question. And I also am going to give that back. You know, any of my guys that have come up under me, like anytime.
Of course.
24/7, what do you need, you know? So it's like, you know the expression, everybody needs a mentor and an apprentice.
It's 100%.
So I'm very big on the mentor. So yeah, I went to Atlantic City, spent some time opening some restaurants up down there. My mentor had a connection with Gordon Ramsay's team. And, you know, he sees me trucking down from Monmouth County. You know, to give you an idea, it was about an hour and 15 minutes door to door, 70 miles door to door from my house to my parking spot in Atlantic City. And I mean, I did that every day for years.
With kids and a family.
With kids and a family, and making no money. Like I was just
it's
like,
a lot.
You know what, I had enough to get by. My sister, my wife was managing at my sister's store. Like we had some money. It wasn't like, you know, but it was tough. It was definitely tough, and like the time commitment. I mean, I had no life. I mean, it was just 2.5 hours a day in a car, and this was before podcasts.
Yeah.
You know, this was when the Parkway was getting like.
If you had Fireside America, you would have got there.
Dude, I would have been exactly. I would have fast tracked a lot of. But yeah, this was like nothing. And
you're just listening to 95.9 The Rap, Hot 97.
Like I had like a Buick.
Hot 97 didn't even make it all the way down there.
I think a lot of times I just drove in silence and just like in my thoughts and just like visualizing. I mean, really, like I'm not trying to sound corny, but like thinking about it, like all right, this is all gonna be worth it. It's all gonna be worth it. But.
Are you a big guy on that?
What's that?
Are you a big guy on visualizing?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, everything.
Speaking things into existence and
yeah, manifestation, totally. But even just like visualizing like your perfect day, like visualizing like on my way to work, I'm like visualizing like what that's gonna look like. When I'm cooking something, I'm visualizing like, okay, the pan's this hot. Like I'm visualizing what's happening in the pan, how I'm gonna plate. I'm always constantly like
mapping it out.
Yeah, like mapping out, like thinking things all the way through to the end in my head.
Critical thoughts are important.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. That's why, I mean, I'm sure you see them on my Instagrams. I'm walking every day now, like 4 miles a day, an hour and a half, usually an hour and 15 minutes. And I'm just thinking about everything, you know, visualizing and yeah.
So he says, I'm going to hook this guy up with Gordon Ramsay. One of the
like,
most popular chefs on TV at the time.
Well, Gordon Ramsay was filming Kitchen Nightmares at the time. And they were up in Carlstadt by MetLife. And it was a union job, by the way. So I was a union cook in Atlantic City. I wasn't even a chef. I was a cook in the union. So I was like the low man on the totem pole. So it was like, now it's the winter. It's slowing down. But, you know, I stayed committed, you know. My days off were like Tuesday, Thursday. I'd drive all the way down there. They might cut me in early. They might keep me late. I never really knew. I had really a very irregular schedule, but I always just kind of stuck to it. And my boss, I think, appreciated that. And he appreciated that I was always there early. Most of the time I was there early because I wanted to miss the traffic. You get to like between like Seaside and like Harbor, forget about it. So I would I'd be at work like 3 hours early, like, and he's like, this guy's a rock star, just coming in early. I'm like, I'm just trying to beat the traffic because I want to be just stuck in my car, not listening to anything. But so Gordon Ramsay's production team, they were filming an episode of Hell's Kitchen, Kitchen Nightmares up in Carlstadt, and I went and met them up in. I ended up working on the show behind the scenes. There's a lot of production involved, right? Like, yes, he's going in and like working with these restaurants, but at the same time, like he has a team of people that come in and we help out. We're, you know, just there's some behind the scenes stuff that you have to do to help these restaurants, you know, like training them and et cetera, et cetera. And then he ended up, you know, utilizing me to come up there and help him get this restaurant situated. So we did it, and then they ended up putting me on camera as well. So that was like my big, like 29 years old. You know, I had this union job. I'm trucking my ass down to Atlantic City every day.
What were you thinking at the time? Like, man, I struck gold.
I just was like in a state of shock. Like, I remember meeting with Gordon in his trailer, and I'm just like 29 years old, like just trying to play it so cool, like just like where you're sitting. I'm like, just acting like I'm like in my pants. I'm like, holy crap, that's Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah,
that's really Gordon Ramsay.
That's
so it was amazing. It was just nice for my family to like, and like my wife to see it. Like, you know, like that's a huge opportunity. I was a kid from New Jersey delivering pizzas, horrible student. Was it okay, you know, like I'm not the most talented chef in the world, you know, I just was able to line up opportunities. I always say that, chase opportunities, right? So I just was able to line this up, and it was just a good feeling for me, for my family to see, like, wow, like
it's working.
He really did something different. Like, not only did he like starting to get some success in his career, but like he's on TV with Gordon Ramsay now. So, you know, we did that for a month or so. I was consulting with this restaurant, went back to Atlantic City, you know, have another kid, you know, couple years go by, and I get a phone call out of the blue. And at the time, I was now an executive chef in Atlantic City. I mean, that's how much time had lapsed. Mm-hmm. And they're like, hey, you know, this is an executive producer or a producer from Gordon Ramsay's show, Hell's Kitchen. Would you know, your name came up as a front runner for being his on-camera sous chef. You know, the guy he had for the last 10 seasons is leaving the show. Would you want to come do it? I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. I mean, I said yes without even,
I'm in.
I was not really even knowing that it would entail me leaving, you know, my family for months at a time, but I did it, and I was just blown away. So
sometimes as an entrepreneur and a business owner, you have to sacrifice.
And I wasn't even an entrepreneur yet, though. But yeah.
But I'm saying you want to get to that level of success, you got to sacrifice things.
100%. And that's like the thing that I think, especially in today's climate, a lot of entrepreneurs are villainized, believe it or not. I don't know if you feel the same way, but you know, sometimes people could see like, oh, you know, his restaurant's full, this guy's an asshole. Or,
they put a magnifying glass.
Who does he think he is? You know, whatever. Yeah. It's like you didn't see everything. You didn't see the whole story.
You don't think I got that?
You might see a new truck. Yeah, you might see a new truck parked in front of the restaurant when I roll in, but like you know, whatever. Like I'm on vacation with my family, but I'm not like this glitzy guy. Like we've all had this we've all had to pay our dues, is my point.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and it's very easy to dismiss that when you just see now the end result. You don't see like.
Didn't you roll up in a pickup truck?
Yeah.
Yeah, like. You're not rolling around in a Rolls Royce.
It's not a Denali.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, like,
regular shore guy.
Yeah, that's it, man. Like t-shirts and jeans. But I'm just saying, like, people can see your success, and they might think that, like, in order for you to have gotten there, like, you may have had to, like, what did you do? Who did you screw over? Or how did
that right there? That one bothers me actually the most. A lot of the other ones I just roll off my shoulders nowadays. But who did you screw to get where you are? Dude, there's
myself.
There's a lot of very, very successful, wealthy people in the world that did it the right way.
No, totally. And it's like, I can count on one hand how many weddings I went to. I mean, my friends knew, like, I'm not even asking James to be in the wedding because odds are he's not going to even come. Yeah. And it's like...
You work on the weekends.
Yeah, and it's like, looking back on it, like, I probably was a little more extreme than I needed to be, but I don't know. I made the sacrifices, and they paid off. So at least
you get rolling with Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, so I'm doing that for a couple years. We're out there for 4 months, which was a crazy experience. I remember the day I was out there, in the apartment I lived in when I'd be out there filming was like right in the Hollywood Hills, kind of like in West Hollywood. And I remember just like working out, like looking up at all the canyons and like just like completely surreal.
Yeah.
And I was like telling myself, like, James, like, this isn't real. Like, this is an opportunity, and just bask and enjoy it, and like just like take it all in, and know that it could be gone tomorrow. But just take it all in and enjoy it. And I did that, and I did that for a couple years, and I'd come back and I would do I do a consulting gig, or I had a job working with a local restaurant group. But then, the TV show would call, and I'd have to like go back out to LA and kiss my family goodbye. And I mean, I don't even think we had FaceTime back then. Like, maybe Skype was like a new thing. So it was like literally like leaving my wife and kids, and I was on, Pacific time, and there was production going on. So like, 3 days would go by, I wouldn't talk to my wife or kids. So like as glamorous as it was like still like I'm a family guy.
It's so hard on you.
It's like I like to be with my wife and kids even to this day. Like, I'm a homebody, and if I didn't own restaurants, I'd never be in them. Like, I'm home all the time.
Yeah, you're hanging with your family. You have 4 kids.
That's it, dude. Yeah, like all different ages. So I did that. So now let's just fast forward. It's like 2014. The TV show had a few seasons that aired. I had pretty good momentum. Kid from New Jersey, opened up a bunch of restaurants in Atlantic City, spent some time working on now 2 Gordon Ramsay TV shows. I had a little bit of traction, and it was like, all right, it's time to cash in. Like,
I got to take advantage of this.
Yeah, so I started thinking, like, my entrepreneurial spirit started kicking in again. Like, all right, I need to open up my own restaurant. Like, that's it. Like, I don't need to go back and work somewhere. I want to start building this dream, which was, going back to my college years, like owning multiple restaurants. So let's start. And these guys were opening up a Biergarten in Asbury Park. Asbury went through a very hard period, but like back in the early 2000s, they started the regentrification of it, and like dumping money into it and developing it. So now, remember what I was saying about New Jersey, like not having a lot of great restaurants. The food scene wasn't that. It was like again, sports bars and stuff like that. And a lot of now there's actual restaurants. There's like Taco was there, and the Biergarten's opening up. They were calling it like Brooklyn by the Sea. So there's like, I'm like, this is where I need to be. If I'm going to be in New Jersey, this is where I have to open a restaurant. So I just would be driving in Asbury, like thinking where I would do it. I'm like, I have no idea how I'm going to get money. Like I'm not going to ask my family for $1 million. I don't even think that was an option. Like, so it's like, it wasn't an option. But I just kind of kept thinking about it and doing these pop-up dinners.
What were the pop-up dinners?
I wanted to do a seafood restaurant, and a friend of mine had a kitchen space in Old Bridge, and she was having chefs come in and do some demos or whatever. So I just kind of I was in between the TV show. What
was the demos for? Was it for
just for like it was like her kitchen space was like it was like a cooking studio / school / retail shop, and
that's cool.
Yeah. And so I would go in there, I would do it. I was doing pop-ups, like I said, so I would do like a dinner for like 30, 40 people to like beta test concepts, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I had this idea to do a seafood restaurant, and then one day out of the blue, again, I always get these phone calls out of the blue, which are kind of like, I think part of the
just
attraction,
happening. Yeah.
The law of attraction in life. And this guy's like, hey, my name's Frank Pfister. I'm opening a few restaurants for these guys in Asbury Park. They're looking for a chef. And I'm like, I'll be right there. Like literally stop. I think I was at Barnes & Noble, like looking at cookbooks. And so anyway, so I went down to Asbury, met with them, kind of told them my seafood concept idea. They hadn't really figured that out yet. They just had an opportunity for a lease, and they had no concept yet, but they had the Biergarten opening. So after like a lot of thought and a lot of deliberation, I talked to my wife, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna leave the TV show, and I'm gonna open the Biergarten, and I'm gonna have an opportunity to open up my own seafood restaurant, which I did, and that was in 2014, 2015.
That's the Bonney Read.
Yep, so we opened the Asbury Festhalle and Biergarten. I had no equity there, but I was the opening chef. I was involved in a lot of the operations outside of the kitchen as well. Similar investors, I was a partner in the Bonney Read. And I've been doing that, the Bonney Read, that was August of 2015 we opened. So.
And you guys are still pretty busy over there.
Dude, kicking ass and taking names. We've had it, make some changes. I mean, restaurants are like any living, breathing entity. Like you have to kind of roll with the times and make minor adjustments along the way, and like always stay true to who and what you are. But you have to keep up with the times and all that. But in 2017, I left the Biergarten. It's funny. I wanted to do the Black Swan. I now have.
Yeah.
That's my British European gastropub that I have right down the street from the Bonney. But I wanted to do the same concept there about 5 or 6 years ago.
Cool spot if you've never been. Really good beers. Great. Those potato things, those are dangerous, dude. Real dangerous. Your pork chop I had the one day was good. The lamb was it lamb? What else I have? Lamb chops. Yeah, the lollipops. You have some unique things that you don't see.
Just tighten things up, and like that's my whole thing. Like you don't have to just build a better mousetrap. Make things better. Make things that are make some tweaks, make some changes. But make approachable food that everybody wants to eat. Again, I've had the fine dining background. I like cooking fun food.
We're jumping ahead, but you wanted to take over that space.
Wanted that space, available. And the landlord's like, I don't want another pub. And I think he thought I was going to have like a rowdy college like Irish pub type situation.
He didn't want nothing to do with that.
He didn't know I really wanted to do like an authentic pub like you would see in Europe.
I think it's kind of a higher end pub. I mean, it's decorated very well.
I just got back from Dublin, and the pubs I saw there are more or less what I'm doing here. There's no shamrocks on the walls. There's no.
Yeah. That's American.
Yeah, it's like exactly. It's like these cheesy renditions of. But so I was like, well, shit. I'm out of the Biergarten. The pub idea fell through, and I had this idea in my back pocket to do a fast casual, because this was like when Sweet Green was blowing up in New York City. You're hearing about Chipotle making $14 billion a year.
Healthy.
Yeah, and again, I'm like, well, I want to have multiple restaurants. This is the avenue I have to take. Maybe I have to get away from full service and focus on fast casual. So I had this concept called Farmly, and Farmly was basically a farm-to-table, all organic, originally, Boston Market, essentially. So rotisserie chickens, porchetta, roasted meat, pick your sides, blah, 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 I was like, this is going to kill it. So I went out, raised a bunch of money, we opened it.
Now I want to talk about that. I want to jump over that.
Yeah.
So, young chef, has been hustling.
37, yeah.
But I'm saying the young chef now, I want to give some nuggets, right? The guy is looking to go start a salad place, start a pub, start a restaurant, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Talk the basics, and you don't need to tell me the details of yours. Talk the basics of how you get that started, how you go pitch these investors to give you the money to open a restaurant.
Well, I mean, everybody's journey is different. Everybody's, the way I found my investors was I took a very bad deal in the Bonney Read. I gave my life savings for a very small amount of equity. But I knew if I took this, I remember I wanted equity originally in the Biergarten, and that wasn't on the table. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'll take the job anyway.
But maybe at the time, talking about the Bonney Read, you weren't really worth it yet, right? You had some notoriety. So maybe you weren't there yet. A lot of people, we want to be ahead of where we are as entrepreneurs.
Right. So my advice to this young person: create as much value around yourself as you possibly can. Get in front of the right people. Don't be so hung up on what you want. Always remember what you want down the road, not what you want today. Mm-hmm. If you always go for what you want today, you will always lose.
So you
want to create
value.
Creating value. That's business, the first step of any business creation. And in the beginning, you're the business, right? There is no physical restaurant around you yet. It's just you, and you're selling yourself. So you have to create the value. And the way you do that is, for me, there was a very big, high-profile restaurant opening in Asbury, and I went in and I ran that fucker like it was my own. Like I ran that place like it was my money, it was my life on the line, and that's what I did. And the right people saw that and were like, we'll invest in that guy.
And that's how you launched.
And that's how I got my opportunities, and I always did the right thing. You know, it's gonna happen in time. If you continually show up and do the right thing for the right people, the right things will begin to happen. It's just, you gotta be patient.
And people are paying attention. There's a lot of watchers, right? Especially nowadays with digital media. You know, if you're putting your stuff out there, and a lot of people who aren't doing that yet kind of hate on social media, but just like the Hell's Kitchen gave you a springboard to launch into the Biergarten and Bonney Read, people have access to that right on their phone, right through these cameras that Evan films for us today.
100%, you know, and that is it. So if you're trying to figure out, like, you got to dream big, but you got to dream in sequence. Like, you're not going to go from like graduating culinary school to having 10 restaurants.
Yeah, it takes steps.
Like, all right, well, I got to get really good at my job, and then I got to do this, and then I got to build a resume.
You got to master
it. That
might
take 5 years, And it's
take
going to
10.
go like this. I mean, I gave you the story of my last 20 years as quickly as I could. There was a lot of up and downs. There was a lot of heartbreak, a lot of months of losing monies and not knowing what I'm going to do next, and biting my nails off and crying myself to sleep at night, like being a father and a husband, like having just feeling like I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, let's talk about the farm to table, because that was your next investment, and it didn't work out for you.
I went in like, this is going to kill it. There's nothing like it. And again, I was looking at restaurants that were in LA, that were in New York City, in Chicago, and I'm like, I can do this in Seagert. You know, I can do this because it's going to be healthy. All these, soccer moms are going to want it. All the empty nesters, I missed them. I didn't, so what I created didn't have value for, I guess, the right amount of value for the people I was trying to sell it to.
What did you learn from that most?
Well, anybody in real estate will tell you location is key, right? There are some outliers to that. Like, my idea was that I was going to be able to build a digital customer in 2018.
You were looking to the future.
Yeah, I was like 2 steps ahead, but I was too far ahead. Like I said earlier,
it wasn't there yet.
Early bird gets the worm, the second mouse gets the cheese. So it's like I was the early adopter of thinking like, everything's going to be done through Grubhub and DoorDash and Uber Eats, and it's going to be all digital. And the reality of it is that if you look at where I put the restaurant, the demographics were there, the money was there, right? Like, you had the traffic, it was on Highway 35, but the person that lived there didn't live on their cell phone yet. They weren't understanding.
It's an older population.
Older population, empty nesters. And my wife as well. A lot of these people are just busy. They want to just grab a pizza. Not everybody's looking for a $17 organic, free-range chicken that came off a farm in Virginia.
It was good. I told you, I came in there with Sean Ryan and Pat. It was good.
It was delicious.
And it was a beautiful layout that you did there.
It was, and that was it. That was the prototype. And I honestly, man, we thought we were gonna have I thought I was gonna get 1 or 2 beta test them in markets, and then go out and raise like some VC money, and then
franchise it.
Off to the races. Have 100 of these things in the next 10 years. But it didn't work out. And that doesn't work out, and then all of a sudden. That was what year? 2000? That was September of 2019. We decided to close the doors, and we were going to consider moving it up to the Red Bank area. We felt like that market may have been more adaptive to what we were trying to do, but then COVID happened, and that was kind of all right, now what?
Yeah, and you're running the Bonney Read. Managing member, you're like, damn, I'm not allowed to have people in my restaurant.
Yeah.
You're at home, you're probably in almost a depressed situational
It was
state.
brutal. That was one of the hardest years of my life. It was March of 2020, man. It's right around my birthday. It was literally my birthday was that Friday the 13th. I told my team, I was like, guys, don't order any food. Don't order anything. And I was already thinking in my head, I don't know, I can't keep people at work, and I was thinking about the servers, not having customers. So I was I kind of told everybody, that said, I said, I will call everybody Tuesday morning, and I will let you know what we're doing. Talking about Tuesday, it would have been the 17th.
It was only going to be 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Whew, long 2 weeks. But, I laid everybody off. told everybody to get unemployment, and we shut down for 2 months. And I remember those 2 months, I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do? Like, am I going to open a restaurant? Are people ever going to go back out to restaurants? Like, what's going on? But I did voluntarily close. When they said 2 weeks flat in the curve, it's like, let's close the restaurant. I'm like, dude, let's close. This thing will burn off. We'll get back to normal. We'll figure this out. We'll get back open. But like, it didn't, and it just kind of dragged on for a while. And there was a lot of ups and downs, and not everybody. Listen, people lost family. I get it. You know, the world changed. Let's just say that. It was like a Black Swan event, right? Like something that just changed the world forever.
I got to ask this question because I'm naturally a conspiratorial type of guy.
Yeah.
Do you ever think that it was like put on us on purpose, or not so much maybe on purpose? I'm not saying COVID isn't real, but like there was just a power grab from politicians that just totally jumped on the opportunity.
I never have like these linear, like this is what they did. I think there's just too many parts. I just think if you look at the climate of the world with like the presidency and all these things that were going on and the political divisiveness and all this stuff, it's like everybody used everything around them politically.
Yeah, and all
everything that went on
all
in
it
the
did
world
was hurt the small business owner.
Everything was just political.
Yep.
You couldn't open your mouth without like it was taken politically or whatever. And it was just, so no, I don't think it was like manufactured. I don't think like, you know.
China sent it over on purpose or something?
Yeah, I mean, something happened. Listen, I don't know.
Yeah, no one knows.
At this point, it doesn't matter.
We could all speculate.
We all have our ideas. All I know is that it was hell to live through. And a lot of people got affected differently.
And as somebody, and a lot of business owners watch this, so for the young business owners, you hopefully we don't run into another pandemic,
right?
Like you know, Mr. Microsoft says is going to happen, but you're going to run into other issues. You're going to run into other things, and as a business owner, right now, all of a sudden, you still have rent.
Yeah.
You still have bills to pay. You still had a food bill you probably had to pay you didn't pay yet, and now the money's not coming in. You can't just empty the bank accounts.
Yeah, I mean, so the way I handled it was like I went to my partners, like, listen, I'm going to close the restaurant down. I said, can I? And I have relationships with my vendors. Not all my vendors are these big U.S. foods. You know, like I have big corporate. I mean, I have other guys that are small, and they're dealing with local fishermen or they're dealing with local produce, whatever. And I was like, I need to make sure I have enough money in the bank to get everybody paid. So I went into lockdown completely debt free, and I told my landlord, I was like, listen, like I'm being told I can't be here. I'm being told I can't earn a living in your space, so I can't pay you rent until we figure out what's going on.
And were they good with you with that?
Yeah, I built a case that was like, and my landlord and I are good. Like it wasn't like I'm not paying you, and he's like, you better pay me. It was like, no, everybody's like,
you were communicating.
Like this is a really screwed up situation. Like I'm being like not screwed up. Like it was a very hard, difficult.
He potentially is still holding a mortgage. He has bills.
Yeah,
to pay.
like exactly. Like, and I'm just in the back of my mind though, I'm like, if the government's telling me I can't open up, then they better hit pause on the interest. The clock better top.
This is where I want to throw a little nugget in. As a business owner, and compliance, I'm not talking about planning. This is just logical thinking. As a business owner, you need to be in a position of leverage, liquidity, and control at all times. A lot of us, especially in the restaurant industry, you work out of the cash register, right?
Yeah.
Money comes in, goes out, comes in, goes out. You have to force structure and have savings for things like this, right? Let's hope, again, another pandemic doesn't happen, but
like historically speaking, March is my worst. Like my bank account, and this is where like you gotta have a set of cojones to be an entrepreneur. March, my account, I have more money in my personal checking account than I do in my business account in the month of March.
And then you end up feeding back to business.
Then it goes, but like it's like that's the reality of it. Like you're riding this edge, and it's like now it's March. I'm expecting like, all right, St. Patty's is here, Easter's gonna hit, May is gonna be right around the corner, and we're off to the races. It's like, can't open up, And then there's like the human element, right? Like I work with these people who are paying off debt, or they're in college, or they're
they have their lives.
People who don't have an education, they're working in restaurant people, and it's like, you're telling them like, yeah, you can't come to work tomorrow, and I don't have cash to pay you. And
well, you got through it.
Got through it, man. And my strategy during that was like stay composed, and it was hard. I mean, I was a very angry person during that phase because I was just very frustrated.
Easy to do. You don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and you just feel like a caged animal, or like, you're cornered, and you're like, but my strategy was like just survive another day, just get to tomorrow. every day was get to tomorrow. And I was like, I can do this for 2 weeks. And I was like, I can do this for 2 months. And I can do this for what ended up being 2 years, you know? But you learn how to bob and weave. And I mean, hell, I opened up another restaurant during the pandemic, right?
So like, during the pandemic, you saw an opportunity arise, which is going back to this landlord that said, hey, I don't want a pub in my space.
Yeah, so, you know, the restaurant that he ended up giving it to, you know, rewinding back, they ended up leaving right around the time the pandemic started or shortly thereafter. And he called me, this was like March of 2021, so it was like about a year and a half ago. Hey, you still interested in the space? Now, mind you, we had just gone through the summer, a shutdown. It was like all the restrictions weren't lifted. The labor shortage, nobody's going back to work because they're just sitting home collecting stimulus checks. Like it was crazy. The supply chain was messed up. Everything. There was a million reasons why opening a restaurant in March of 2021 was one of the dumbest ideas possible. But like, again, I'm like, I want to have multiple restaurants. Like, I have a million reasons not to. I just needed one reason to do it. And that reason was I know what I want out of my life. I've known what I've wanted to do for a long time. You know, I may have made some like, you know, detours along the way, but I've always known like open restaurants, you know, and
now, did you go back to that same well that invested in you? Yeah,
I asked some guys. Some guys weren't interested. Some guys, you know, lost their appetite during the pandemic. Some, you know, finances changed. Yeah, but yeah, for the most part, I was able to get a few guys, and
they obviously believed in you.
I picked up some new guys like AJ and Joe, you know, a couple other guys that, you know, they saw. I mean, I think the fact that I showed a lot of wherewithal and during the pandemic, and that I think I'm looking back. I think, you know, aside from maybe a few, you know, outlashings on or lashing out on social media, I think I handled it very composed. I got through it. We're still in business today. Nobody never.
Just, you know, it's okay to go on a rant. It's okay to lash out when you're frustrated. We're all human. We're not perfect.
Exactly right. But, you know, I don't regret anything I did or said. I stand by all my convictions, but you know, I navigated through it, and we came out on the other end, and we're still here. You know?
And the Black Swan is doing very well.
Yeah, we're doing great. You know, we just a few months ago we got, you know, one of the best new restaurants in New Jersey. We got on the cover of New Jersey Monthly. You know, it's going great.
You guys snuck me in for a Christmas party last year. It was great.
Yeah.
All my guests loved it.
Do another one. We'll give you a 10% discount.
I looked at that bar tab and I was like, damn.
It's all right.
No, it was good. It was a good time.
It's going good and I love it, but I'm jonesing. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready for another one.
You want to do another one. So talking about that, earlier in our conversation prior to hopping on the cameras, you were saying something that really struck a chord with me. I didn't really know this about you. And again, a lot of people don't realize some of these people that come on, obviously I know well, they're clients, friends, etc. Some of these people I don't know that well, right? We've met in your restaurant and said some highs and byes, but no real deep understanding of your thought process. You want to turn around and bring the next guy back up the ladder. You want to show that to be a chef, you don't have to get sucked into the restaurant industry of drinking too much and partying too much and drugs and those things. You can live a life of being a family man and taking care of your health and being a business owner or the back-end operator of a restaurant. Talk a little bit more about that and your passion for it.
Totally. So, I mean, I invested a lot of time, and there was a point in my career where you just have to go out of balance and you just have to be okay with that. And you just work, you know, 15-hour days, 18-hour days, you're opening restaurants, you're traveling, you're doing whatever. At some point in time, you take all these skill sets you learn along the way and you combine them and you start.
It clicks.
All right, and you click, and it's like, all right, it's like a puzzle, right? Like in the beginning, you have all these puzzle pieces everywhere, and you're like, holy shit, I don't know how to put this puzzle together. But as you start getting sections put together, it gets easier. You start seeing it, you start understanding that now the puzzle.
It's like an analogy to sports. They're a young quarterback in the NFL. He can't see the defense. Tom Brady now, this many years in, the defense is so slow for him.
Right. It's like you're watching everything in slow motion. So, but bigger than that, more importantly than that, I want to show guys that like you don't have to burn the candle at both ends. You don't have to, just because you're a chef and you're around alcohol and you can still go home and read a book and have a cup of tea and go to bed. Mm-hmm. You know, I tell chefs, if you're Mario Batali, all right, I know he's gotten in the hot seat. He hasn't, you know, he's kind of fallen out of the limelight. But he said a very intelligent thing that has stuck with me I can't, tell you. It's like my modus. What do you call that? MO, modus operandi.
Yeah.
Anyway, cookbook in one hand, calculator in the other. That's what he says. So you gotta not just have
Couldn't
the
be more
skill.
true too nowadays with food costs and inflation.
But that's it. Like, you gotta know how to cook. You gotta have the skill set, but you also have to understand like the business side of it and the managerial side of it and managing people.
So I want to stop you right there. So I know a friend, I won't mention his name on camera, but he's really dead set on opening a salad place. Right? Not like a Salad Works, but like a salad place in a very good, prominent shopping plaza that's busy somewhere between here and call it Belmar, right? So for the guy who isn't a restaurant guy, who isn't a chef guy, what would you tell that person? Same thing, get the numbers, get into the cookbook?
Yeah, like I would start by beta testing your concept, make sure, like, number one, make sure it's like there's a good market fit. How
would you go about that? What would you think the best?
Get some demographics, what restaurants in the area are surviving. Sometimes you see that there's a hole in the market. Oh, there's no organic salad market here. There's just fast food. Well, it's because that's what the customer that's around there wants. The other companies have figured out that's their demographic, right? So your demographic, just because your business isn't there doesn't mean it's a good idea for you to put it there.
Now, where are you grabbing that data? Is there a silo of information for restaurant owners?
Some of the bigger food companies can actually pull that data for you. Yeah, they can give you like median income. But at the end of the day, it's all a guess. Like there's really,
of course,
everything is an educated guess. How educated that guess is really comes down to how much effort you're going to put into it.
You can't control all factors.
So, make sure, run your numbers, like get all your costs. I always say write a menu. Like have your menu written out first, and then you go from there. Like what is your price point, and then you figure out how many people do you need and what's the build out going to cost and how long is it going to take to get your money back. It just goes from there, right?
Yeah.
So, but there's companies now and there's consultants like myself that will come in and help you, do all that stuff. Like
and that's really the new restaurant group / consulting business that you.
So I recently formed Nicely Done Hospitality.
Nicely Done.
Yep. So there's a managerial arm of that, a branding arm of that, and there's an ownership equity side of that. So when I go in and partner in restaurants with like a set of investors, Nicely Done is the managing member, right? So we have the brand, we have and then we have I am the managerial component of that. And we're still in our infancy,
Yeah.
But we're ready to roll.
But you have a vision. You have to build it out to actually have it.
So,
happen.
but it's like I like challenging myself because when I get to the end of the road, I want to look back and say like I did it and I kept my marriage intact. I kept my health intact.
You went all in.
Yeah, like I went all in, but I stayed. I stayed. I remained James Avery. I remained healthy. I didn't lose myself in it. I didn't. My marriage didn't end because of it. 'Cause that's a lot of times you see it. These extreme business owners or even chefs or whatever. Anybody has a highly demanding job. Everything falls to the wayside of the business. And back to what you were talking about with what I want to do, when I get to the end of the road, I want to be able to go back and coach people along the way and help them. Like, this is how I did it. This is what worked for me.
Well, it seems like you're forming the business to do it. I mean,
it's definitely, it's starting to click. I turned 42 in March. So it's starting to click.
So you got anything good going on in the fire?
Yeah, I don't want to say too much, but I have a couple concepts that you definitely haven't seen in the area. I like doing.
What's your favorite concept you have going on in your head and you're discussing today?
I don't know. Something that's going to sell a lot of nachos. I'll tell you that much.
Nachos, huh?
Maybe some fajitas. We'll see. No, I don't know. I like simple every day. I look around like what is already working, right? Like pubs. People like pubs. They like Guinness and like burgers. So just make a really good one.
Yeah.
They like seafood. Give them like the best fish and chips, linguine and clams they can get their hands on. So that's what I like to figure out something simple and like just make sure that it's really nicely done.
Well, think about you talked about Chipotle, and I give Paul and his partner credit to run with Bubba because that's simple. It's a very small footprint as real estate. You got a little bar full of tacos and burritos, and those guys are on. I think a total of 150 stores are being opened. I don't know if that's like, and again, that's the fast casual market. I dabbled in that. Maybe I'll get back into it. It's a completely different animal.
I know the bar business. You know, I know full service. I understand that. And once you get the formula, you can just change the flavor. Oh, it's going to be an Asian steakhouse, or it's going to be a Mexican joint, or it's going to be.
So you have the model. You just switch the brand, the face front of it.
Yeah, it's like it's all built off these. Like every business at its core is just a set of processes and systems. You know, that's all it is. That's all a restaurant is, really. You have your ordering system, your reservation system, you have this system. The part that lights me up is the branding and the conceptual side. Going back to my critical creative thinking and all that is like taking nothing and making it into something. So like, what are we
having a vision, put it down on paper, then seeing it through.
And then it's like, all right, I'm gonna make this place a Mexican joint, or I'm gonna make this a beer garden, or we're gonna make this an Irish pub, or we're gonna make an Italian restaurant.
You have a Mexican pub?
A Mexican pub. It's kind of like this new fusion I'm getting into. Whatever, yeah, but that's kind of it.
Come on, you give me nothing else. Come on, give me.
I think there is one in Red Bank actually.
Really?
It's what the hell? It's like an Irish name. It's like, I don't know. It's like Senor McConkley or something like that. It's like some Irish name, and it's like a really
probably crushes it.
Probably, dude. I'd go there.
Yeah, I'd go. Have some good Coronas and some delicious tacos.
But yeah, you can expect. I'm gonna start. I'm definitely out there actively seeking the next thing. Again, I have this like.
Are you taking on, for someone who may be paying attention, are you taking on new investors?
Always. I'm always loyal to my investors. So I always think it's fair to run it up the flagpole first. Like say, hey guys, this is an opportunity, whatever. And that's kind of how I do it. But we'll see. Like again, I have nothing like really concrete right now. I'm enjoying. After the last 2 years,
some consistency.
Like now, I kind of don't want to I always, when I was trying to get going, it was like, yes, I'll do it. Yes. Chase the opportunity. Yep, I'll do it. I'll figure it out. I'll do it. I'll take it. Yep, perfect.
You have to.
That's what you have to do. But now it's like, okay, I have my core. I mean, I definitely want to do more restaurants, but it's like, I'm good right now, so I want to be a little more selective, make sure that it's a good deal for everybody, and just that it all makes sense and that it jives, and I can afford that right now,
Yeah, I love it.
Of thinking, yeah.
Well, rounding out, man, I like to ask a couple questions.
Sure.
First, I like to give a shout out to other business owners, more specifically here locally at the Jersey Shore. Give me 2 other restaurants, right? That's your genre. Let's go with restaurants. Give me 2 other restaurants you want to give a shout out to.
Oh, man.
I'm sure you can give us 10. I don't want to piss
anybody off.
I know you can give us 10, but...
Well, my favorite restaurant that I always go to, I guess, in around here is Four Winds and Seagirt.
All right.
Old school, low ceiling, carpet.
Yep.
Go there for some wings and a beer when I'm feeling up to it.
They redid that bar up there, right?
What's that?
They redid that bar?
Yeah. It's super nice. And then I have so many friends in Asbury, but my wife and I are always like
let's get out of where I work.
Yeah, but I'm a sucker for sushi, so we always hit up Taka. That's my boy. He's always a good fan. But there's a ton of good restaurants, But again, I don't go out to that many.
Yeah,
I stay home.
Well, you're in that space all day long, man. You're gonna come home.
Yeah.
Do you cook at home?
I do. I cook, more in the summer. I'm a big grill guy. I like when I don't like doing dishes. That's my.
Yeah,
that's the
I hate
thing.
dishes.
That's why I'm like, oh, dude, I don't want to cook. But I'll do a lot of stews in the winter, and I'll grill all summer. But I'm not at home playing chef, all day long.
No. You do that already.
Yeah, we grill some chicken.
So the other question I like to ask is, if you could tell one thing, or give a young entrepreneur or someone looking to launch a business or leave corporate America, what's one thing you would tell them to stick with when they're launching that business or they're going into being an entrepreneur?
Meaning from an operational, like an overarching thing, or one bit of advice?
It could be a saying that you live by. It could be, 2 sentences of things that you think are important as a business.
Totally. So I think as a business owner, I don't know if you watch college football or any football. I'm a huge college football fan, SEC specifically. Go Dogs, Georgia fan for life. But I love Nick Saban. And this is what I like about Nick Saban. I read his book. And, he's the most winning college coach of all time. And, he's got great recruiting, great plays, great coaches. But he attributes all of his success to the fundamentals, blocking and tackling. Because he says the game is won at the line of scrimmage, right? Whatever your business is, you need to figure out what your line of scrimmage is.
We need to figure out what the stat is of his linemen, defense
exactly
and
right.
offense, being drafted into the NFL over the last 10 years.
That's right.
It's pretty high.
Out, but like they don't miss blocks, they don't miss tackles. That's why they win championships. But so, figure out what the line of scrimmage is in your business and figure out what the basics are. For me, line of scrimmage is when the guest is meeting with the server in the restaurant, and the basics are good food and good service. I got to nail those things. Doesn't matter the decorations, the branding, doesn't matter how much money I raised, or doesn't matter what we did last night. That experience.
That person coming in.
That
today.
experience, that line of scrimmage is the at the table with the server, making sure they get good service and good product.
Yeah, I think that's actually a great one. I like that. And no one said that yet. I like it.
Good.
Well, James, dude, I appreciate your time. You got 4 kids at home, your wife.
Yeah, dude.
I appreciate you being here, dude. Cheers.
Cool, cheers. Ugh.